So you love drawing your characters, but when it comes to getting that succulent polish, you don't know what to do. Well, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's rendering. So I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. Let's get into it. Choosing good base colors is the first step. Any colors you choose for white and black should be nearby the color, but not the pure value exactly. The same thing goes for any other colors which are close to the extremes. I like to keep the general saturation of the piece a few degrees from full. This opens up the option to do pops of high saturation. A great way to make these color choices happen naturally is to set the background behind your character as a color other than pure white. So the more restrained colors that you choose can still look vibrant. Next is to add a hard shadow. I like to use a combination of cell shading and soft shading techniques, but I prefer to do the cell shading first because it's like the groundwork for the shadows. Then to choose a color for the base shadows usually involves some hue shifting. In my art, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be shifting towards a cooler hue before dropping the value. This is a really common tip, as if you do not hue shift, you'll end up with very sad grey shadows. When I start on my hard shading, I usually draw a line where the edge of the shadow would be and then fill it in, rather than coloring the area manually. And to help the fill tool be a little cleaner, I draw and fill with anti-aliasing off. And make sure to follow the form of the object. If it's cylindrical like an arm, the shadow follows that shape. This gives my rendering volume. If I'm rendering a complex texture, for example clothes with some patterns, I'll set a separate layer to draw out the shadows, lower the opacity, then use these areas to fill with the colors I chose. This avoids any nasty looking breaks in the edge of the shadow. And if it's just too hard to add in the shading colors manually, sometimes for certain parts of the artwork, I'll apply some multiply shading. Shading over a curved surface can be done using cell shading, but I like to render these by creating soft edges using the airbrush. I make sure to use the airbrush towards the end of my rendering phase because it's a notoriously difficult brush to control, and often you're gonna have to pre-select an area to airbrush so you don't go crazy out of bounds. I also sometimes use the airbrush to create a bit of variation in the area in the light or show off some semi-transparent materials like clothes or hair. Next, highlights. This is the part everyone gets the most excited about, but cool it, because with highlights, less is more. Choose a bright color and then find the closest point to your light source. Then add a dot or a little shape. It's as easy as that. Now, this is my big secret, the sweetest slice of the pie. Bounce lighting. Not to be confused with adding a second light source, bounce lighting is the light that reflects off nearby surfaces onto the character, most often the sky or the floor. For your bounce lighting, you're going to choose your shadow color again and then move it towards the color of your bounce light and turn the value up a tiny bit. If my character's in a void, I usually shift the hue towards blue. Then draw a slight area on the outer edge of your shadow and fill it in. Bounce lighting is a subtle way to add even more dimension to your rendering, and to get everything looking shiny. While this may not be the most realistic method, this is how I approach rendering. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you don't have anything to render yet, start on that dynamic pose. Okay, bye!